Hello and welcome to another edition of For the Record. I'm Sean Murphy. My guest today is Mary DePasquale. It's her first time on the show. She's the Executive Vice President for Friday's Rescue Foundation. Welcome to the show.
Thank you so much. Thanks for having us.
You're very welcome to be here anytime. There's a bunch of animal lovers in the building, so we love having shows like this. Tell us about the organization.
Well, I feel like I'm in good company.
Yes,
then,
you are.
Right? The organization, Friday's Rescue Foundation, was founded in 2013, so we're kind of new, if you will. You know, we're a baby in the industry, in the foundation industry, the rescue business, but we are something to be reckoned with. We've rescued over 1,000 animals so far and counting. And it started in 2013. The gentleman who founded it, his name is David Haddad, and it's an interesting story. Basically, what happened was he had a friend, kind of like your friend, who had this black lab named Lucky. And his friend was not doing very well health-wise and said, "Can you take care of my dog?" And he ended up taking care of the dog and
But he fell in love, yeah.
as we all do.
Yep.
Never had a pet and kind of fell in love. And as it all happens to all of us, the pet, Lucky, unfortunately got sick and passed away. Well, David was so devastated that he immediately went online and said, "I got to find another Lucky. I got to find a pet that looks like."
Which isn't always the best idea, I think.
No,
Yeah.
no, but people deal with it
Yeah.
in different ways. Some people immediately replace a pet.
Yeah.
Some people never get another pet because they can't, you know. So it depends on each individual how they handle
But
that.
I could tell that David decided that this lab was part of his family and not
Oh, yeah.
not a pet or a
Oh, yeah,
dog
no.
or part of the
A
family.
companion
Yep.
and, you know.
Someone who
definitely.
returns love.
Yeah, yeah. So he found a similar looking dog in Wilson, North Carolina.
Wilson.
And he drove down there and he went to the pound. He went to the kennel and he met, you know, the dog and everything. But what happened was he found some deplorable circumstances. And in the state of North Carolina, they gas dogs. And what they do is they have these gas chambers where if pets aren't, if they're put in the Humane Society, if they're found, abandoned, whatever, and 72 hours is the rule. After 72 hours, if they're not claimed, then they go into these gas chambers.
Horrible.
So he went back to his hotel room, and he never knew this even existed. He couldn't sleep. And so he had called his assistant up in Connecticut, and he said, "Find me some land. We're going to open a kennel."
A no-kill shelter.
No kill
yeah.
shelter,
Right.
exactly. And
That's a
so-
very big buzzword these days in this field. Yeah.
Yeah, and I think that's an important buzzword. So that's kind of how it started, and it was an interesting story, but it really came from the heart. It wasn't anything other than love.
But it came from a shock to the system when he saw the deplorable
Yeah.
things that happened.
Yeah, he was
Yeah.
actually physically disturbed, like he couldn't sleep and things like that. And I'm really happy to say that since then, I've gone to Wilson, North Carolina with him, and since then, because of the rescuing efforts of Friday's Rescue Foundation, they've dismantled the gas chambers down there.
It's horrible.
They've
is
dismantled them, and they don't exist anymore because of it. You know.
Do they still? There's still euthanization though.
Yes.
Correct.
Yeah. Yeah, there is still.
But I guess we could say
Unfortunately.
we're moving in the right direction because I think more people in general just understand the necessity, first of all, for spay and neuter, right?
Right.
That's one of
Right.
the important things. So
Right.
you don't see his dogs running around because but you do see it with cats, unfortunately. A lot of feral cats, and unfortunately a lot of stray cats too.
True. Very true. And you need organizations to help.
Yeah.
You need humans to help these animals.
So we learned about David as the founder. How about your background? How did you get involved in it?
Well,
Obviously, I know you're an animal lover for sure.
I definitely am an animal lover, and I champion the cause, and I kind of fell in love with it. But I started with David in another side of his business and kind of do a dual duty, if you will. My background that coincides with Friday's Rescue Foundation, besides the love of animals, is event planning. So it kind of tied a good segue into helping plan some of the events that we do.
Which are fundraisers.
And organize adoption events, fundraisers, grand openings of walks, things like that. And do that kind of thing, which is second nature to me.
Which means that you're also by default the PR person, meaning coming on shows like this.
Yeah.
So does David go out? Is he a?
No,
No, he's not. No.
no, not as much. He's done them before, not as much. I have the gift of gab.
Okay. Cool. Well, that's. I always say those are the best shows where they get. And if you're passionate about what you do, which you obviously are, you're going to have the gift
Right,
of gab. But that's
right.
good for the organization because you're going to certainly get the word out. And
Yeah.
but you and him seem to, I mean, you're perfect for each other with this organization. Yeah.
And I try to keep in the background always his mission, and his mission is to rescue middle-aged to older dogs specifically that have been abandoned and traumatized. And that's really important because there's not many rescues out there that do middle-aged to older dogs.
Right.
Because with middle-aged to older dogs comes sometimes illnesses and sometimes some medical issues.
And
Whereas
also-
a lot of, I didn't mean to interrupt, but a
No,
lot
that's
of
okay.
other rescues, and they have the puppies,
Right.
and everybody loves the puppies and the kittens. And we have some of them, but again, our mission is really the middle-aged to older dogs.
Not only the medical conditions, what I was going to say was also the unlikelihood of them being adopted, because when someone, like if a family comes in, they almost want to start with the younger puppy to grow up with the child. So they're, the older dogs, unfortunately, especially an older one with medical conditions, which I'm sure more than a few have, it's going to be tough for them to get
Right,
adopted,
right.
you know?
And some of them are very curable medical conditions. They unfortunately have come with a case of heartworm.
That's
And
curable.
that's
Yeah,
very curable.
yeah.
Or mange, where their coats just need grooming and love, and maybe some behavioral issues that definitely could be solved with one-on-one training, which we
think-
do all that.
Over the course of your time working in this field, I'm sorry to say, but we've discovered there are people that should not own pets because they don't understand the time that's necessary to put in, and we personally feel that they should become members of your family and not a
Absolutely.
pet or something you own, really, right?
Right. There's a huge amount of responsibility that goes with it, I feel.
Now, when you talk about rescues, it's great that there's a facility that saves them, but there also has to be a turnaround. The ultimate goal is for them to find a forever home.
Correct.
Right?
And that's a
And that could be the
process.
tough part. Yeah.
Yeah, that's a process.
What is the process?
Well, it's many layers. So let's start with, so dogs will come to us. We pick up a batch of dogs, if you will, and
Where do they come from?
all over. So we have dogs that come from Virginia, Pennsylvania, North Carolina, Connecticut, New York. Just trying to think of some of the other places off the top of my
All
head.
over. I
But
was
all
talking to
over.
the Humane Society, and they brought in some dogs that were caught in the bad storms that were down there, and they ended
Matthew.
up here.
We have a
Yeah.
dog named Matthew.
From Matthew.
From Matthew.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, he's a great dog. So the transport happens, and then there's a quarantine period. So now you're again traumatizing this animal, but you have to,
Right.
because if they could infect the rest of the population. So there's a care that needs to be taken there, and then you start to introduce them into society, if you will, in the
With the
kennel
other
life,
dogs,
the
yeah.
kennel life, and there's medical checks that they have to go through, spay and neutering if they haven't been. And then take care of anything, fleas, ticks, like I said before, mange, heartworm's a big issue because people can't afford the medications to give their dogs, rabies, all their vaccinations. So after you've shucked that dog some more, we start to feed it quality food, some really good food, and start to slowly build its confidence. And you can see them getting better. They're given a lot of love and socialization and one-on-one care. So you can start to see their confidence build and confidence build. And then we assess their behavior. Are they good with other dogs? Are they good with little dogs? Are they good with big dogs? Are they good with humans? Are they good with men? Are they good with women? Are they good with children? So there's really an assessment that has to happen.
And that'll determine where they end up going or
Exactly.
not going as far as when they're adopted.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And then some people will come to the kennel by appointment and check out which dogs we have. We have adoption events every weekend where people will meet certain dogs. We have Pet Finder that we use a lot. All of our animals are on Pet Finder, so people might go on there and say, okay, I saw that Arnie's going to be at Petco this weekend. I'm going to go check him out, and I'm going to go meet him. And then they'll put an application in. There's probably sometimes, Sean, 3 to 4 applications put in on one animal.
Wow.
And we accept that only because we'll go through and see what's the best fit for the dog.
Absolutely. The vetting process, if you will,
Exactly,
right?
exactly.
And that
Or the
should,
cat.
yeah. You mentioned Petco, and one of the things that we discussed off the air was I think that the pet stores, especially the national ones, are doing a little bit better as far as just having the supplies, but not selling the dogs or cats from breeders.
Correct.
But what they do is they have the facilities there so that dogs or any animal in general can be adopted from rescue organizations like
That's
yours,
correct.
or from shelters,
Yeah.
pounds, the Humane
And that's a good
Society.
thing. We've partnered with PetSmart in New London as well as Westerly, Rhode Island. And the PetSmart in New London has some of our cats that, are there. And then they help us, and facilitate adoptions and that. So people that are going through can see the cats that are up for adoption.
Some dogs that you get, do you not know what their background is or their history, so you kind of have to figure it out on the fly, so to speak? Yeah.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Not only do you have to kind of figure out what their breed is, but their temperament and what happened to get them to that point.
Yeah.
So, some dogs are totally skittish. Like you just put your hand out and you can tell
Yeah.
that they're fearful. Some other dogs are very rambunctious. Some other dogs are escape artists. They want to get out because they feel trapped or whatever. So,
Do you see, from
they
your
feel
point of view,
safe.
do you see that more steps are being taken against cruelty and things like dog fighting? It seems like in society in general, people are becoming more outraged, but is the act, these horrible things, are they lessening now, or do you still see it?
I think we still see it, but I think that since people are aware of it more, the outrage becomes more. With the outrage comes the passing of bills and laws that'll,
Punish.
enforce
Yeah.
and punish people to the nth degree of the law to prohibit them from doing that.
And people,
know?
to say the good thing about people is they really do get outraged by it because, and you're right. I think in a certain sense they weren't aware of it that was going on. You hear big public cases like Michael Vick and things like that,
Correct.
but in every neighborhood, there might be something bad going on that you just don't know about.
Correct.
And it doesn't get publicized.
Correct.
Let's take a break and come back. I want you to give out maybe a website for Friday's Rescue Foundation.
Sure.
And we'll come back. What's the website?
www.fridaysrescuefoundation.org.
Mary is the executive vice president and also heavily involved in fundraising for Friday's Rescue Foundation.
Correct.
So we'll get into that a little bit too when we come back. I'm Sean Murphy. This is For the Record. Stay right there. Welcome back to For the Record. I'm Sean Murphy. Mary Di Pasquale.
Hey.
I'm supposed to say it in the Italian way. Executive Vice President, Friday's Rescue Foundation. Now, the shelter itself is physically located in Groton, correct?
Rogers Road in Groton.
And there are offices in surrounding towns? Is that how
Yeah,
it works?
we have our kennel manager, our kennel director, our medical director are housed at the kennel. And then we have offices in New London as well to support them.
Some people think that maybe other shelters and the Humane Society in general, you might be like in competition, but that's not the case at all. You help each other out, right?
Oh, most definitely.
The ultimate goal is to get as many pets adopted as possible. So why would you
And
bet?
you'll hear that come out of David's mouth quite often. He'll say, somebody will say, well, that so-and-so is doing that. And he'll be like, as long as it's helping animals. He doesn't care. As long as the ultimate goal is to help animals.
Right,
It doesn't matter who's doing what. However we can help is what we do.
As we tape the show, we're coming into the holiday season, so that might be a time when some families might be thinking about getting a pet, and maybe the first thing they might think of, which isn't the right thing to think about, is buying a pet.
Yep.
You always want to adopt, save a life, right?
Right.
Holidays are not the time to buy pets. Or really any time, really.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, there's kind of several schools of thought with that. And my personal philosophy is that if you're going to get an animal and you want to rescue, then by all means. I think that sometimes the holidays can be really stressful for us. Can you imagine how stressful it's going to be if you now bring in a four-legged friend with your family and craziness and trees and lights and busyness and people coming in and out? It might be a little shocking on everyone.
Especially when that's the time early on when they're trying to get,
Acclimated,
to this brand new surrounding,
Right, and they want to feel safe, and you want them to feel safe, and it's just a little hectic. But, if you are, one or two people in the home and adults, maybe the house isn't as active, and you want to open your heart up because it's that time of the year of the holidays and everybody's in a giving and receiving mood, then that's fantastic. I think that's an appropriate time to open up your heart and your home and welcome an animal that really could use some love. And same with a family as well. You might want to introduce it for the holidays and say and talk about rescue, and then maybe introduce the pet right after the holiday, and things slow down. It might be a good introduction to slow things down, and maybe buy the kids the leashes and the dog, the dog walking stuff, and maybe the dog toys, so they can get excited about the new pet that's going to come home and arrange for the adoption, and then bring the pet home right after the holidays. That's my personal.
Ultimately, though, you want the dog to get into a good forever home.
That is correct.
And if it happens to be for the holidays, then so be it.
Right.
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 Yeah.
Absolutely. Our process for that is kind of, I would say, vigorous, but we just want it to be a good match for both the family and the animal.
So talk to me about the process a little bit.
So an application gets filled out, and there's a lot of questions on the application about what your home is like. For example, do you have a fenced-in yard? Is it an apartment? Are there a lot of stairs? Are there other animals in the home? Are there cats? Are there small children, adult children? Is it an active home? Are you elderly? Are you able to get this dog out and walk it? What are the surroundings and the circumstances? So once we get the application in, on there we will ask for vet references as well. So if you have other animals, we're going to want to ask your vet a little bit about how those other animals and the history there, if you will. And then after that, there might be a meeting, a one-on-one meeting. You might be concerned about your child and how your child's going to react to this. So it might be a one-on-one meeting.
Oh, there has to be some chemistry there too, right?
Exactly.
You have to see what the reaction is on both sides.
It has to be a good fit.
Will you go to the house at all?
And then there's home visits.
Okay.
Yeah, we will go to every home and we will visit. And things we're looking for are just situations like unsafe. Where's the dog going to be? Where is there going to be mass feeding if there's more than one animal? Some dogs have food aggression issues. So are the dog going to have a separate area? Is there small children in the home? Is there adults in the home? Is there teenagers? Is there a specific area? So there's all those little nuances, if you will, that kind of fit into this whole meld of, is this going to be a good fit? So some people think that's rigorous, but I think it's important.
Yeah, absolutely.
We also have a foster to adopt program.
I like that
might
too.
be good,
Yeah.
and that might be a good scenario for the holidays as well. So you might want to foster an animal and see if it's going to be a good fit and let it in your home for a while and go through that process as well.
It'd be tough I don't know how quickly people fall in love, but if I'm fostering an animal, boy, I don't want to give them back after a certain amount of time. Does it really?
Yeah. Oh,
but that's great. That means they end up getting a home.
Yeah, exactly.
So there's that. There's the application process, and people will be concerned about the cost initially. So,
Sure.
And so, what can you tell them to alleviate their concerns about that?
Well, there is an adoption fee, and with that comes a lot of things. So for an average adult dog, it's about $350. For a dog that's about 1 year or under, we would consider that a puppy, if you will. It's sometimes in the range of $425 to $450, depending. And then for cats, it's $150 for adults and $200 for a kitten. But that includes a lot of things. Some people will say, oh, okay. Some people will say that's very reasonable and there's no issue with it. But let me just tell you kind of where we come from with that. There's the transport, meaning the physical picking up, so tolls, gasoline, all that good stuff that goes with the transport, and obviously the safety of the animal and the care of it. There's the quarantine period. Then we do all the spaying and neutering before the pet is released.
Which
to
really
the
is
family.
important too, by
Absolutely.
the way. Yeah.
And then there's a physical that goes with the medical whole piece. And then once we determine the health of the animal, we start medication. If it's vaccinations, if it's heartworm, if it's whatever it is, then there's the grooming. That whole process of totally giving this dog a bath, and grooming, and making it feel good. Vaccinations, and then we microchip as well.
How important is that these days?
It's very. My personal pet is microchipped as well. I think it's huge.
But if your dog gets lost, you won't know where to. If you have to use the chip to find him, right?
If my dog is lost and you find this dog and you take it to either Humane Society or a vet, then they would scan it.
Gotcha.
And they would say, okay, this dog belongs to so and so. I think mine comes up as, please return.
Hurry.
Hurry.
Miss them that much
Yeah.
greatly.
And then we also provide quality food for the animal as well. So all that stuff kind of adds up. So I think that the fee is very reasonable.
How do you get funded overall, just aside from people adopting? I mean, you have these fundraisers, right? What
We
kind
do a lot of fundraisers. Fundraiser could be anything from, we just opened a walking trail at our kennel.
that's
and
nice.
we had a volunteer clear out a quarter of an acre where the dogs now can walk on a leash. They have big areas and yards fenced in where they can run around in groups. But this would be a one-on-one, you and me with a leash.
There you
So
go.
it's leash training, it's one-on-one activity, it's an area where prospective adoptive parents can meet animals. It's really that kind of thing, and it's a lot of fun. So we did a fundraiser for that. We had some really great success. We do a lot with GoFundMe pages. We do a lot with, we have collection canisters in a lot of stores around the state of Connecticut and Rhode Island.
So we'll see Friday's Rescue Foundation
You'll see
on
that,
okay.
yeah, on those, and then those donations go right to us directly, which is awesome. We have a PayPal set up. We have Amazon wish lists.
So you're using all the technology that's available, including a lot of social media stuff too.
Absolutely, a
'cause
lot of social media,
Yeah.
Instagram, all that good stuff. And we do a lot of restaurant nights. We partner with a lot of restaurants. Philomena's in Waterford, and there's a lot of restaurants in Middletowns. And we have one coming up at La Boca and up in the Middletown area. And so it's really fun. And what some of the restaurant owners will do is they'll say, okay, from Tuesday night from 5 till 10 p.m., 10% of all the proceeds go to Friday's Rescue Foundation,
Nice.
which is awesome.
Yeah.
So we do an array of things.
How about volunteers? Are you always looking for volunteers?
Always looking for volunteers. There's a spot on our website, www.fridaysrescuefoundation.org, and if you'll see a little tab there that says volunteers, you fill out the application, and we would love volunteers. Volunteers for a lot of different things, walking the dogs, helping us at the kennel, helping us with adoptions, the adoption events, helping us with other fundraiser. We have a couple that help us with website and marketing, so there's a lot out there to do.
Is there like cuddle time allowed ever? Or?
Oh, big time, big time.
Yeah.
And a lot of times that's the
Part of it, yeah.
volunteers
Yeah.
that'll do the walking
How
and
could you not love that?
one-on-one.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
What do you do if you have maybe a dog that just, for whatever reason, is just not getting adopted? And do you have some that have been there for a little while?
Yeah,
Yeah.
we actually have a dog. Her name is Tina Turner. And she is, oh boy, 11-year-old Chow mix.
Wow.
And she's really a great dog, great dog. Tina Turner has been in kennel life since 11 months old.
Wow. 11 months to 11 years.
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. And
Is she used to it? Or I mean,
she is kind of used to it
Yeah.
now, but you know, we would love her to just have a home for her last few years, you know, and just have somebody to give her some one-on-one cuddle time. So we do have, she hasn't been with us that whole time, obviously, because we just
Yeah.
started, but she has been. We have some other dogs that, for whatever reason, we have their pointer, I can't remember their mix, I apologize, Regina and Rupert.
If they go on the website, they'll
they're
probably
brother,
know that.
yeah, they're a brother and
yeah.
sister pair. So you just have to have a big yard for them
Yeah.
because they love to run and jump. And
How do you contain your emotions when you want it? The ultimate goal is to have them rescued or adopted, but how do you not fall in love with them all? Especially if you love and you're passionate about it, like you do. Is it knowing what the end game could be, the fact that they can get a forever home?
yes,
Yeah.
yeah, you have to at some point say, okay, my goal. That's why I
Yeah.
keep working and pushing for those goals, because otherwise I'd have them surrounding me in my pockets.
Right.
And, yeah. So it's kind of crazy. If you have time, I have a quick story. We were down in North Carolina one time, and it was a snowstorm was coming, and we were driving. And so I was concerned about getting out of town quickly to get back because the storm was behind us, and there's no plows down there, so it was really stressing us. So we ended up going to the pound in North Carolina, and we were looking at some dogs and things like that. And so we were talking about, this dog will come to Connecticut, this dog will come. And we saw this dog, black and white little thing, in a wheelbarrow way at the end of the road, and it was shaking. You could tell it was cold and it was shaking. And so David went over and said, what's the story with this dog here? And they were like, oh, we think it was hit by a car. And they said, and so David said, okay, how long's it been here? And they're like, I don't know, about 24, maybe 36 hours. And they're like,
And nobody did anything?
now you know the place is going to close because
Yeah.
everybody wants you out
Right.
because a storm's coming. Okay, there's this sense of urgency. And so he was like, well, what do you know, have you contacted the owner? No, we don't know who the owner is. So immediately he goes into
Rescue mode?
rescue mode.
Yeah.
And he said, okay, let's all stop what we're doing. He said, take this dog to a vet right now. I'll assume everything. I want to take care of it. Da, da, da. So we ended up naming this dog Oreo because it was black and white, and it was a border collie. And Oreo is currently with us now. She's in a wheelchair. She was hit by a car, and it really devastated her rear spine and all that good stuff. But Oreo is living the life.
Is she a permanent resident?
No, she
Okay.
actually is fostered by someone and
Okay.
has land, other dogs to play with, and is loving life. So it's a really good story, but
It's great to end the show on a
positive high
yeah,
note.
absolutely.
Love it.
One more time on the website for people
Sure.
to go and learn more and hopefully set up a time where you can come in and visit some of the residents there at Friday's Rescue Foundation and maybe
Please do.
maybe
Yeah.
Forever Home.
Call us and make an appointment. We'd love to have you. Our website is www.fridaysrescuefoundation.org. Go on petfinder.com and look at our new puppies that just came in and some of the older dogs that we have. We'd love to see you.
Mary DePasquale, Executive Vice President for Friday's Rescue Foundation. Enjoyed having you on the show. Thanks.
Thank you.
You can see this show and many others on our YouTube site. Till next time, I'm Sean Murphy. This is For the Record. Take care.